So let's get into this. So,
Okay.
all right. How do you start your career? Right. Coming from East New York, what's your break into the industry, and which industry do you start first? Was it music, fashion, liquor? Like, how did you actually, get your stride?
It's funny. I started in media. So media is a big, big part of my expertise as well. So I started at a small internet company a long time ago, like a long time ago, mid 90s, long time ago. I've been in the game for a minute. I want to say it's 96.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm dating
Okay.
myself, which is cool. But yeah, I worked for a company called iVillage.com, and they were like the first lifestyle website for women. And I was the 35th employee. I literally was just looking for a full-time job. I was in college and wanted to make some money. I was putting myself through college and wanted to work in advertising. And they had a job opening and they hired me. And amazing ride. 4 years, was a part of their IPO. Friends and family stock. Did really, really well. They ultimately got acquired by NBC. So I had experience in that space very early on in my career, but loved advertising and marketing, but really needed something that was speaking to me culturally. And so I don't know if you guys know Keith Clink scales.
Yeah, heard of them.
Yeah, yeah. So he I believe he created 30 for 30 with ESPN. He's one of the original pioneers in the culture. Also launched Vibe magazine. Keith started a company called Vanguard Media, and they had 3 magazines: Honey, Heart and Soul, and Savoy. And Honey magazine was like the essence for young Black women. Right, Essence at the time was a little bit more mature, and oh, your man left you and you got a divorce. And I was like, I'm 20. I don't know anything about that life. But Honey was fashion forward and makeup and beauty and music and all the things I loved. And I was like, you know what? I want to work at this magazine. So I literally wrote old school, wrote my letters and my resume, mailed it out, convinced them to sponsor a party at Howard University for Howard Homecoming. And they came in as a media partner, and they loved the work that I did with my cohorts, Dia Sims, who I'm sure you guys have heard her name in the industry, also a Sean Combs alumni and genius in her own right. She and I had a company, and we did an event with Mark Barnes in DC and got Honey to come down. They loved it, and they were so impressed that they hired me. And I went into sales for Honey, Heart and Soul, and Savoy for about 4 or 5 years. Then ultimately heard about me at Time Inc. They brought me over to Time Inc. to work at their publications there. And then Glamour magazine recruited me. And then Vibe recruited me. And then Giant recruited me. And I was finding this whole pattern of people seeing excellence in the marketplace and calling me like, hey, we're here doing great things in the market. We'd love for you to be a part of our team. So that went on for about 15 years. And ultimately, I burned out. Like, I can't keep doing sales and teaching people how to spend money with Black people, because it was a real challenge. It was like, no, Black people buy shampoo. No, we buy cars. And it was constantly educating people to allocate money to us.
But allocate money inside of the publications and outside of the publications. What exactly are we doing in sales?
So I was selling advertising within the publication. So when you go into a magazine and you see a print ad, I was literally selling those ads.
Gotcha.
So I would go to companies, major companies like L'Oreal and some of the others, and they just really didn't understand the segment of the African-American audience in a way that made sense. And so they felt like they were capturing us if they ran a commercial on ABC or if they ran an ad in a white magazine or general market magazine. And it's like, you need to be able to speak to us specifically in order for us to be loyal to your brands. So that went on for over a decade of constantly teaching people about, our value. And I realized that print was a dying industry at the time. And I was like, I need to do something different. And I'm really good at marketing. That's the reason why I'm selling the way that I'm selling in advertising. And I just started taking a bunch of informational interviews. And I sat down with this woman. Her name is Amani Duncan. And at the time, she was the CMO of Bad Boy Worldwide Entertainment Group, now Combs Enterprises, but it used to be BBWEG. Now it's Combs Global now, Combs Global. And she asked me what my dream job would look like. And I just told her what it was. It was this hybrid between, marketing and strategy, but still monetizing paradigm and monetizing process. And she was like, this sounds exactly like what we're trying to create for our internal agency, Blue Flame. And would you ever consider working for Sean Combs? And I was like, absolutely not.
No. How come?
Well, who will work for Sean Combs? He makes people go get cheesecake. He does all these things.
So this is like early 2000s.
This is
making of the band.
2008, 2009.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, he's brilliant, but he's also could be mercurial, right? Like really just like, go get the cheesecake. That's what we've seen, right? Now, I've known him in business and I've known his brilliance in business, but I just thought our personalities wouldn't work. And, upon further review and talking to a few colleagues, I realized there was a real opportunity here. What he was creating in the space, what the agency represented, and what my skill set could bring to the table. And I was like, let me just take a chance. And it literally was the best decision I've ever made in my life, ever, hands down. I actually was promoted 8 times in 9.5 years. At the time, I was one of 4 people that worked on every piece of his business. So, like, every piece that you see in the portfolio at the time. There were 8 or 9 brands, I believe, when I was there. Derek Ferguson, Dia Sims, a couple of other folks were privileged to have access at that level. And I was so blessed to be a part of cultural definition, right? Like, I literally was on the task force team to launch Revolt TV as we know it today. And when people were talking about it, they were like, oh, Puff has a new show called Revolt. I said, no, Puff has a network, a television network like MTV. And people really couldn't wrap their minds around what Revolt even was because it was so big. Mm-hmm. And having that kind of access to creating culture, it's bar none. You can't wish for that in your biggest dreams. And I think also being that close to leadership at that level, like Sean Combs is brilliant, as you guys saw experiencing him, right? Like, I think people think his celebrity is the thing that has created so much success in business, or his popularity, or even his charisma. And all those things are accurate, but it really is his brain. He is a brilliant strategic marketer and cross-category. Mm-hmm. Can really look at the vision and see where things are going. And so having that level of access to talent at that level, and then also the group of people that I worked with to build that company, bar none, best decision ever.
So you're at the cusp of the beginning of Revolt. Yep. This is early Ciroc, because we're talking like maybe 2006, 2000 up to 2009. So the early stages of Ciroc. What are those meetings like? Because this is an industry, again, that, especially in spirits at that time, that we hadn't really ventured in at the level of success that we see Ciroc now. And I think maybe Oprah is the only one that had a network. So what are these meetings like that you're taking? So
a few timeline things. Ciroc actually happened a few years before, quite a few years before Revolt happened. Mm-hmm. But I was not a part of the initial launch of Ciroc. The 2007 alliance. That's a Dia Sims story. Mm-hmm. And I give people their flowers. We'll say that Dia Sims is literally, she's the one. Mm-hmm. She is the one. I would never, ever, you know what I mean? Like, take away the level of leadership and vision that she had in supporting Sean and where he was able to take his company. And it was because of her and a few other people. Derek Ferguson is another main one that really, helped to cement the infrastructure around all of the brands that sort of burgeoned after that Ciroc deal. I came in about 2 years after the Ciroc partnership. So to be a part of, for instance, the innovations. So red berry and coconut were the first 2 flavors to launch on the Ciroc umbrella. So I literally rooter to tutor part of that initial team, launching bottle design, flavor profiles, strategy, all of those things. The idea of the flavors that you experience for Ciroc, Sean literally, he was the noser. He literally tasted every berry flavor. Apple came out. I had to literally source apples in Canada. This is a real story. Source apples in Canada because apple is one of his favorite flavors. Like, he loves apple pie. So when we launched Ciroc Apple, we had to find apples from everywhere to make sure that we were really capturing the essence of what apple represents, and literally work with research and development to create a liquid that mimicked his favorite apple. So when you're experiencing Ciroc as a flavor profile, these are literally things that he created from his mind. It's not like he was like, oh, let me taste this bubblegum or this cough medicine. He's like, no, I want the real mango fruit. And where's the best mango? He's just a very best in class marketer. And to be able to be a part of that journey was really brilliant in building a brand.